Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And it's my glad and honor to be here this afternoon to give this lecture speech actually to everyone here. So today's topic is about the policy of the regional headquarters and R&D centers of multinational companies in Shanghai. So before we give in this policy interpretation, I want to introduce a little bit about the policy background and the history of the foreign investment to help you to understand the whole background of the policy. So back in 10 years ago, China has really strict policy control and also the interest requirements on the foreign investment in terms of the interest requirement and the approval process. But that's back in 10 years ago. And after 10 years reform and opening about the foreign investment, nowadays, those process and interest requirements has been largely reduced. And as you may have already known, back in 10 years ago, it's called approval on the foreign investment by the MOFCOM. And right now, it's only you need to do is only about the information report before you're going to the government authorities to do the registration of the entity. And also, back in 10 years ago, we are using the catalog of foreign investment entries requirements, but now we only use a negative list of the foreign investment. Especially in free trade zone, we use a more easier and more released a list of negative items, which is prohibited or restricted by the foreign investment to go into China. So you can see a lot of reform and developments has been made throughout these years, so which make foreign investment is booming here in China, especially in Shanghai. So we can see a series data here. So by the end of this April, there are already 730 regional headquarters and also 466 R&D centers have been established in Shanghai, and which makes Shanghai remains the most concentrated city for headquarters of MNC in mainland China. So that's a very remarkable data and achievement that Shanghai government has received. Okay, let's move on to the next part. Let's talk about a little bit about the MNC's regional headquarters. So what is an MNC's regional headquarters? It must be an independent legal entity. Yeah, it's very understandable, to be held by an overseas parent company, which is the sole shareholder of it. And it should be authorized by the shareholder company, which is the parent company, for some functions like service and management in the respective regions. And also, you can look in the chart on the right side. The management and the service function can not only extended to the onshore entities and group members, can also be extended to the overseas group members and entities, which means you can use this regional headquarters established in Shanghai to extend its function and management roles to the overseas countries like Japan, Korea, Malaysia, Singapore, etc. And also for the R&D center, it's a little bit different from the R&D compared with the regional headquarters. An R&D center can be established in either form of a independent legal entity, or even it is only an internal department or internal branch of the company itself to deliver its function of research and development. But for the current policy in Shanghai, with respect to the R&D center, the Shanghai government encourages and intends the R&D center to be established in the form as an independent legal entity, and we will introduce a lot of preferential policies in the following several slides to show that the Shanghai government really encourages the legal independent entity R&D center to enjoy those preferential policies. Okay, so for recognizing the MNC's regional headquarters and R&D center, the Shanghai Municipal Commission of Commerce is taking the charge of doing so. So you may submit all the application documents and complete the process with this single government authority. So what needs to be met for the requirements of or to be an MNC's regional headquarters? Firstly, as previously mentioned, it should be an independent legal entity anyway, and should be authorized by the parent company to perform some functions, management functions, and service functions, such as the fund settlement, the procurement, sales, logistics, and R&D and training, etc. And also for such a parent company, it should have no less than it should have a total assets number no less than 200 million US dollars. And also for the regional headquarter entity itself, the registered capital for it should no less than US dollars 2 million. And compared with the regional headquarter, the requirements of the R&D center is a little bit simpler compared with the regional headquarters. So yeah, it's understandable for for the R&D center, you have the fixed premises, the instruments and the equipments to engage in the research and development projects. That's very understandable. And also, the investment used for such research and development business should be no less than 2 million US dollars. And also, it has requirements on the staff and the number of personnel of such R&D center, which is 80% of the total staff should be acquiring this degree, at least a bachelor degree or a higher degree, and directly engage in the research and development activities. Okay, let's move on to the next part for introduction of the some main beneficial policies which will be entitled to MNC's regional headquarters and R&D centers. So actually, there are a lot of beneficial policies and treatment that MNC's regional headquarters and R&D centers can enjoy. But here we list some most important ones. The first one is the startup subsidy, which is up to 5 million RMB, which is given to the regional headquarter entity itself. But you will need to meet several requirements like we listed here. The first one for the startup subsidy for the regional headquarters, it should be meet the requirements of paid-in registered capital for over US dollars 30 million. So which means you will need to put in real capital into the regional headquarters entity for over 30 million US dollars before you can get the startup subsidy. And for the R&D center, they will require a 50 personnel, 50 numbers of staff for the R&D center. And for the second one, the rental subsidy, which is up to 30% of the rental for 3 years. There are only several requirements on it, which is you can see here for how big your office is and the unit rental per square meter and per day for the office you rent. So for regional headquarters, except from that, and also besides on that, you will also need to complete obligation of paid-in registration capital for over 2 million US dollars and with 10 or more employees. And for the R&D center, that's the same requirement as the startup subsidy, which is 50 R&D personnel. The third one is the operation reward. The operation reward is divided into different levels based on different number of annual turnover of the regional headquarters it can attain. So you can see the calculation should be based on different range of the annual turnover. So here listed very detailed. It's here listed in very detailed the numbers you can get for the operation reward. Okay, so apart from that, some main beneficial policies for the MNC regional headquarters and R&Ds, we want to extend a little bit into the MNC's regional headquarters benefits. So it's a very large advantage for the MNC's regional headquarters to operate their business and operate their funds, which is actually the fund using in the country, and also not as well in the country, also in the area it can be extended. So you can see a lot of monetary benefits and preferential policies you can use here for the MNC's regional headquarters. You can open a cross-border fund pool and also the free trade accounts, which we're more familiar with the FT accounts, right? And also the domestic multiple currency main account. And let's move to the third column here. A regional headquarters with good creditworthiness will be included in the recommended list and enjoy offshore trade facilitation policies. This is another very good advantage for the MNC's regional headquarters they can take. And also it can enjoy simplified process for non-trade foreign currency payment and tax counseling and assessment services. So this will give MNC's regional headquarters a very large space for them to utilize their funds in and out, onshore and offshore, and within their group companies, not only for the onshore entities within their group, and also their offshore group entities, which we have mentioned in their extended areas like Japan, Korea, and Southern Asia. And you can also see here, if you are recognized as a MNC's regional headquarters, you can also be supported to issue shares and bond for financing issues, and use commercial drafts and carry out securities investment. So this is also very good aspect for the MNC's regional headquarters to do their financing or refinancing business. Also the facilitate funds using and investment in domestic security markets by foreign employees. That's all these are different from the normal foreign investment entities, and it will be considered by a lot of big Fortune 500 companies overseas. So to open up a investment company or foreign invested company here to acquire this MNC regional headquarters qualification. Also, apart from that, we just mentioned all these monetary beneficials about the MNC's regional headquarters, and also they have other benefits they can get or enjoy for these regional headquarters. Here we list some about the trade and logistics. If you're a trading company or if your business business scope contains like sales and import and export, you will be largely beneficial from it. You can see here, if you are recognized as an MNC's regional headquarters, you can do a lot of self-service things in the process of getting origin, export, and import certificates, and also carry out one-stop handling of the process of registration, customs clearance, and tax reduction, and some other process, and also facilitate logistics consolidation by distribution centers established by such regional headquarters. And this is about the staff benefits and personnel benefits. It's also a very important aspect that to be considered by foreign entities to open up a company here and get the qualification of regional headquarters. So you can see here, for personnel and the staff of the regional headquarters, it can enjoy a very simpler and simplified process in terms of the entry visa, the residence permit, the work permit, or even the permanent residence permit for foreign employees, as well as to their spouse and the children who are together with them in Shanghai here, and for living and for school, for training, for other training, and also family services. So we have listed a lot of benefits and preferential policies for the MNC regional headquarters. And here we listed some benefits for R&D centers. And we can focus on the item 1 and item 3 here. So for the R&D centers, it can be recognized as an enterprise technology center by the Shanghai government once a year. Such kind of recognition will be conducted by the Shanghai government once a year to be recognized as an enterprise technology center. Once you are recognized, a total amount of up to 3 million RMB will be given as a subsidy to these entities. But the Shanghai government really does have some requirements on such enterprise technology center, but they are not normal R&D centers. You will need to show to them about the application documents, like the revenue of your main business, and also your expenses and how much expenses you've been spent in your research and development services. So something like that, yeah. And also we can take a look at item 3. A total amount of RMB 250,000 would be given as a subsidy, as kind of subsidy to the invention patent authorized through PCT. So here the PCT is called Patent Cooperation Treaty. So it's a treaty signed by China and some other countries, which means the applicant, the R&D centers as an applicant to submit such a patent application to the National Intellectual and Property Bureau. And the Intellectual Property Bureau will review your application verified and applied and registered, and they will deliver upon the application of the applicant to some other treaty countries, and which means it's a simplified process for making application to other countries by the applicant through the PCT, this treaty. And the subsidy of 250,000 will be given based on how many patents you've been submitted to the National IP Bureau and how many patents you've been delivered through them to some other countries. So basically, these are R&D standards benefits and also the previous benefits introduction of the regional headquarters. So here we can, due to the time limits, we can only introduce a little bit about this. And if you want more information in detail and further clarification, you can contact us or contact Hong Kong Ministry of Commerce for getting more information. So thank you.